Welcome to Neckbeard Game Dev's first Blender 2.83 tutorial. Let's make a classic real slot machine. So basically, we're going to add the cube in object mode. And then we'll scale up the Z a bit. Could do it in edit mode, but if you pull your transform out, you'll see you can do set dimensions here. If you know exactly or basically what you're looking for. So we're going to control R to loop cut and then slide your mouse up to get more. 4 or 5 will do. We're going to set this first one down low so we could create the base. I extruded the face out, and now we're going to just grab that line and pull it on down. So the edges, you have, your vertex, edge, and faces, and that's how you move things around on your model. So here with the Control C, I'm just grabbing all these edges and we're going to pull them up a bit. All right, so let's just grab these other edges here. Slide that down, and we're going to create the user area. Grab this edge up top, or grab the face up top. We're going to extrude it out and then scale it down. And you see we basically have, an old school looking arcade machine right here. Let's pull this edge up a bit. Make sure you get all 4 corners. Just kind of setting the geometry a little better here. Looks a little boxy, but we'll take care of that. So I extruded that face out, and then I scaled it down. And now I'm just going to position it a little better. Not too bad. Basically, you want to try to get your main geometry down, like your main extrusions, before, you subdivide, like we're going to do here. But you want to do all these before you really start adding too much to the geometry. Because then if you extrude, it becomes a lot more difficult to keep things straight. So basically, we're setting up the areas for the reels here. I'm using the Control C grab tool and grabbing faces. Right? Just going to pull this over a bit, and then we're going to clean everything up here. Let's move back to edges, and let's just grab these vertical edges here. We're going to dissolve those. Oh, not those. Oh, what did I grab here? I got a few other ones here. There we go. Just the vertical edges. We'll clean that up. We'll do that around the whole model. Like I said, I like to do this kind of stuff just from recent experience. It's really helped me keep my models clean. I do a lot of speed building, so when I'm doing that, I skip a lot of this kind of stuff. But when I take my time, you're going to want to clean up as much as you can because it'll be a whole lot easier to work with. To cut those out and have minimal edges and minimal faces, it would be just as difficult. So if you know a better way of cleaning things up, let me know. I guess we could do unsubdivide, but then everything has to be completely equal. Let's finish cleaning up some of these edges I missed. See, now you got one single face. Makes a big difference. Just straighten out some of these lines. This is a knife tool. You can use just K and pull the knife tool up. Now we're just going to grab these inner faces here. I just want to delete them to see what it looks like. Then we'll Control Z or Home Z back, bring them back, and now we're going to pull them out a bit. Control Z is a real helpful tool in Blender. I use it a lot. It's impossible not to make mistakes. You want to sometimes try things and then maybe save before, and then you can Control Z or go back. You know, modeling isn't that easy. Like, I deleted a few extra edges there, so we had to add them in. But I'm liking that. So basically here we're going to do the same things with the buttons. We're going to create these little areas, but instead of deleting them, we're going to separate them from the main object and create separate button objects. I didn't do this in my first version, the test version that I created in Unity for the classic slot game. I just used UI, but as I started thinking of this project, I was thinking that, hey, you know, maybe we could make it with actual 3D button objects, and then it could be used in a VR setting, or, you know, just instead of it being a 2D UI, we're going to have a 3D button to press, and we can give it an animation and make it look really cool in the game. So I'm just going to basically pull these out a little bit, give us a keypad area. And we're going to do some cleanup here on these faces. Or on these edges, we want to grab the edges to clean up the face. We don't want to delete the faces or dissolve the faces. We want to dissolve the edges. Basically using the grab tool. I use it all the time. Sometimes you can mess up with it though, because as soon as you hit the C, it doesn't take away what you've already picked. So you got to remember that. So as you see, we have all individual faces here. And we're going to extrude along the normals so that it extrudes directly straight up. Right? Now we got to scale down each individual face. I don't know another way to do it to where I can scale all the faces down. But we're going to scale them all to the same size. So basically, you hit S, and then you can punch in 0.75 and hit enter. And then each, you know, each face will be scaled exactly the same size. If you grab all the objects and try to scale them, it tries to scale them all as one object. And there probably is a scale individually. I should look it up, but I'll show you here. So you hear scale. See how it tries to scale all the objects at once. Again, if you know the quick tool to that or quick code to that, let me know. This takes a few minutes. It could be 1 second. Right? So there's our faces. Pull those up a bit. Now let's make the actual button. So I separated them from the main cube. Now we have the buttons in their own cube. Just checking things out here. So extrude along normals. And let's get our angle right. So that button will be pushed down and into it. It could be a little smaller. You don't have to make it as big, but you know. So basically we're going to do here what we did to the faces of the other model. We're going to clean it up so that we only have, 5 faces to deal with instead of all these individual cut edges. Pretty simple stuff, just it takes time. It takes time to clean up your model. You can just build it, speed build it, and not worry about this kind of stuff. But this makes a difference in just your discipline of modeling. So now we have our separate buttons. So now before we separate each button, I'm going to rename this to buttons so that we'll have button 1, button 2, button 3. And you'll see it makes a difference. Just making sure our angle looks right. Switch to wireframe mode. Then we're just going to grab one button at a time and separate them. So you can see it on in the collection how it's just adding the buttons there. So then when we bring this into Unity, we'll have separate buttons. We can put code on each button, put a box collider on each one, and you give each one a separate tag, and then when you hit that with a raycast, that it will do something. Bet 5, bet 3. So here we're just going to pull out a circle, and we're going to create our hinge for the actual real pull. I messed that up real quick here. Let's do that over. So object convert to mesh from curve, not curve from mesh. All right. So basically grab everything here. You want to be on edge mode. New face from edge. It's somewhere in the right area here and figure it out. Just extruded that out and scaled it down a bit. Now I grab the whole object and now we'll scale that down. Right, nothing too fancy there. It does have a lot of edges. Probably shouldn't have subdivided it. But that's fine. So basically going to extrude this out a bit. And then I'm going to rotate it. And then I'm going to keep extruding out a nice curve. So you extrude and then rotate, extrude, then rotate, and then, press on the number pad, whatever angle's best, 1, and then you'll be able to see your perfect rotation. See, there is that 1. Then we could start really looking at it. You go with 3 to make sure you're not off target at all. Extrude, rotate. Now we're going to scale that down a bit to pull the handle up. Right, and we're going to build the little ball on top. We're going to extrude and scale up a few times and then extrude and scale down. It's pretty simple. if you hit extrude one too many times, you might have two layers there. So that's what Control Z is good for. All right. Like I said, I think we have a little too many faces on this thing. So let's grab this, get in a little better position, scale it up. That's looking pretty good. Unsubdivide really didn't work that well, so let's grab all the vertex, go to cleanup. We're gonna do a degenerate dissolve. Let's grab over here and let's try to see where we can be to the merge distance for it to look real nice. So remove 0 vertices at 0.005. Let's go 0.001, remove 0 vertices. 0.01, way too small. All right, let's see here. Let's try 0.003, 0.005. Nope. 0.006, remove 63 vertices, 64 edges. Yeah, that'll work. Actually made it look pretty cool. Yeah, you got to mess around with the degenerate dissolve when you're, doing the high poly models and you're trying to make a low poly model out of it, and you can see exactly, where everything is functioning and overlapping. So let's build a little top area for the sign. Extruded the face out, scaled it down, extruded this face out. We're going to scale it up and then pull it up and see how it gives it that angle. There we go. So we'll pull that front face out, I think, here. Extrude that face out, scale it down. There we go. So let's bevel out some of these edges. Might have grabbed too many. Let's see. Oh, there we go. So with the mouse wheel, you can change how many bevels it has. Let's grab these fronts. Yeah. Now it's not looking so boxy. Just different ideas on how to make things look, a bit nicer and clean, low poly. So now we're ready to make the actual reels. So you can see I put 15 vertices because that's how many. Icons we're gonna use. So when we're done with this is only part one. Part two, you'll see where we start adding all the images. But we want to have it at 15. So from there, you just kind of scale this guy out a bit and extruded those faces along the normals, and I'll pull them out. Just messing around with the actual size. You want to do these together so that they're the same size. That's that's part, if you're not going to have a direct number like a 0.65, or just if you're just going to scale it with the mouse. So when in the wireframe, grab those guys, and then we'll scale them up on the, I believe the or X axis. As we go, we'll scale things up, and get things to sit in perfectly after we get the materials and really get to looking at it. But like I said, I wanted to have a very clean mesh to work with. I know it's a simple model, but I want to make sure it stayed real nice and clean and easy to build. And you know, something that you can do. And we want to make sure that these cylinders are all separate game objects, because each one will have its own control. We don't want them to be an individual game object. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. That's part one. Part two, we'll work on getting the handle to rotate and start adding the images and the materials to the actual machine. And I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do with the buttons yet, if we're going to do them here in Blender or do them in Unity or make an image, but we'll see. We'll see when I start the next part to go with that. Thanks again. Looking forward to part two. Hope you had a great day.